was digging into Teach the Ceiling, and Teach the Ceiling is really about consistently challenging students by setting high expectations, but providing them with the opportunities that align with those expectations and affirm their ability to succeed. So this means that we hold all students to high standards regardless of background and see them as capable of mastering complex ideas and skills. That is not easy. I have to be the first to say, I understand that that isn't easy, but it requires intention and providing the scaffolding that our scholars deserve to ensure that they are exposed to grade level and beyond tasks so that they can perform at and above grade level. And so when we talk about teaching the ceiling, I want to bring this to your attention. Again, this may be a reminder to some, and it may be new information to others. But one of the things at the department that has served as an anchor text is this vision for prioritizing learning, not testing. Now, doesn't that sound strange coming from a state agency that talks about test scores and we really do want higher performance on these assessments? But we are not, we have to acknowledge the fact that state assessments and other high stakes testing have been used and misused to harm, especially our students in marginalized communities, our students of color. And if we are not thoughtful and intentional about how we use assessment, we're going to repeat and perpetuate harm. And so our intention today is, how can we leverage the idea of assessment to really inform and promote good instruction? And we're not just talking about state assessments. We are talking about the daily assessment that happens between a teacher and a learner about what how they are moving along the learning continuum in a classroom. And so I'll give voice to this quote: social cultural learning theory creates an imperative to deeply know each student academically, emotionally, socially, and culturally, and to offer a supportive classroom environment where students feel safe to talk together about their thinking and reasoning. Sometimes your physical safety isn't the only safety we need to tend to. We need to tend to the emotional safety as well as the academic, the cognitive safety. Do I feel comfortable in this classroom taking risks, saying I don't know, and trusting that the teacher will manage the space in a way that allows me to be vulnerable and learn with and in front of my peers? How do we create that sense of safety in our classroom? And so this ambitious teaching framework goes into some very interesting practices top to bottom. And you'll notice on the left, it's ambitious instructional practices in blue, and yellow, it's equitable assessment practices. And you know how they taught us when we were in kinder, when you mix the blue and the yellow, you get green. Because in the green, you see that these practices are interwoven. They're so linked as a part of instruction, because we're always in some capacity assessing our students, developing a shared understanding of what our ambitious learning goals are. It is so important to be clear about where we're going, what we are doing, how we are going to get there, what success looks like. How do we paint what done looks like? So it's not a mystery to students what it means to be successful. We demystify what it means to learn and earn a grade in a particular classroom. We provide rich and authentic instructional assessments and tasks, draw connections and to student interests and funds of knowledge, and develop disciplinary discourse practices in a community of learners. So how do we get our students to speak like mathematicians and scientists and historians in the various different contexts and content? So I'm gonna pause here and share a little bit deeper from this article from Shepherd, because she really provides some nuggets that I want to draw our attention to when it comes to instruction and assessment. You see that first line there: elicit student thinking and help students learn to build on each other's ideas, engage students in the use of self and peer assessment, provide supports on participation, and all of those things. So I'm gonna read a little bit from the article, and I really hope that when you have some time, you take a look. It's a good refresher of practices that I know many of you are already engaged in. Shepherd says, we must provide supports to ensure equitable participation, including linguistic scaffolds. When we're talking about thinking is one of the most powerful tools we have to ensure that all students have the opportunity to engage fully with rigorous learning goals. But the hoped for critical thinking talk doesn't happen automatically. Ambitious science teaching explains the process by which participation in talk leads to higher order learning. It also provides advice about how to set goals for classroom conversations, how to plan high cognitive demand questions, and how to use a repertoire of talk moves to be responsive to student ideas. So for example, pressing. Pressing is a way to ask students for more. Can you give an example? What evidence supports your idea? Sounds like you have the beginning and the end of an explanation and repeat their explanation to them. Can you say what happens in the middle? Ambitious science teaching also offers scaffolds for student talk, which are especially important for students who have not participated in such conversations previously. Scaffolds include teacher modeling, sentence starters, sample questions, and ways to simplify complex tasks without doing the thinking for the student. Again, many of you know this. Hopefully these are just reminders, and if not, I hope it's helpful to you. So we're very aware of how important it is that students are comfortable with the meaning of academic words like compare, contrast, hypothesize, cause. When we get real specific like this, we support all of our learners, our multilingual learners, our students receiving special services, our students with different academic needs. When we become this explicit, it helps more of our students meet the learning goals for the lesson. So then if we jump down to fostering student agency and self-regulation, that is what is so powerful. When we get really clear about our instruction and assessment practices, we help to create a culture of student agency and ownership. They know the learning target. Now they know the skills and or the essential criteria that they need, or success criteria that they need in order to meet those desired outcomes. And now they can take ownership about what their next steps are and how to advocate for themselves in terms of the help they need in order to be successful. And then finally, developing norms of respect, responsibility, and improvement, having a healthy relationship between formative and summative assessment. How do we set the culture and conditions that this is just a part of the learning process? This is as much a part of lesson design as anything else. And making sure we don't have grading practices that incentivize great gaming the system. And so again, I gave you a set of items to think about, and I'll give you a moment to reflect and chew. What are you hearing? How does this apply or connect to your work? And what are your strengths or opportunities for growth? Maybe you're really solid on the instructional side and you want to do more embedding of some of these assessment ideas. I'll give you a couple moments to think about it.